The GTA remains under a snowfall warning tonight. We'll get a live update on the commute home coming up in moments.
Speaking of commutes, the TTC votes to take action to speed up the Finch West LRT. We'll tell you how long it's going to take before commuters can expect to see a bit of an improvement on the Line 6.
What should Ontario do with the American booze that it has? The Liberals are calling on the Ford government to sell the stockpile and give the money to charity.
This is Live at 5.
Hello, I'm Arda Zakarian.
And I'm Phil Perkins. You're watching Live at 5. Our top story, the weather. City of Toronto and much of the GTA remain under a moderate snowfall warning.
Environment Canada issued the yellow warning calling for additional snowfall amounts of up to 2 centimeters early this evening. It also warns of reduced visibility on the roads. Snowfall will slow down later tonight with temperatures dropping to -9.
As what it looks like, that's what it looked like this morning in Scarborough as people started the day shoveling driveways and sidewalks, bringing out the cross-country skis, potentially, at least the poles. Some cars were unable to make it through the wet snow, while kids bundled up, made their way to school.
That's not bad. It's somewhat heavy, but it's wet. But it's not extremely bad.
Yeah. What's your plans for today? You have to go out, no choice.
No choice. Gotta get out. Yeah. Show continues. Whether there's snow or not.
And it's not going anywhere anytime soon, is it? We're only December.
Exactly. Yeah, it's going to be a tough winter, I believe.
I'm surprised about more snow, and the schools are still open. Like when I switched on the radio, there was no message that the schools are still open. I was hoping that I would get a message that the schools are closed today.
CP24 Steve Ryan joins us live with more on what drivers need to know. We know it's been pretty messy out there. Steve, what else can you tell us?
Well, we know, according to the OPP, earlier this afternoon anyways, they had investigated over 150 car crashes. So the OPP said that waiting for a tow truck was lengthy, and they were advising people who are driving in this snow-filled roadways to stay home unless they have to go out if necessary. So every year when we get these first snowfalls, the police remind us about adjusting our driving habits. And the main message that we are told is that speed is often a contributing factor when it comes to car crashes in snow. So they're advising us to slow down, to leave a bigger stopping distance. And they also remind people, the OPP has reminded people as early as today, to make sure that their fluids are filled in their cars, especially their windshield washer fluid, headlights being on, have some things in your car in case you get are guided into a ditch and you can't get out, like we saw up on Highway 11 last year. But the main part is to just drive with caution and be aware that your stopping distance is a lot less as a result, and that is one of the main contributing factors when it comes to these accidents. We're also told about sliding as well. Police remind us that if your vehicle is sliding off the path that you're heading on, you are to get off of your gas, off your brake, and steer in the direction that you want to go. Most often the car goes where we are looking. And I spoke with an OPP officer earlier on today as well, who said that his pet peeve, just like driving past somebody with a buckle on the seatbelt hanging over the left shoulder, not adjusted, he said that he stops all vehicles that have snow on the car, on the hood or on the roof, and when they're set in motion, of course, that could be a hazard to people traveling behind them. So all of this as reminders to us all as we start to make our way out in rush hour today in these treacherous conditions. But the main message from police, guys, is to slow down and give yourself lots of time and allow yourself lots of room to stop, because clearly you can't stop in the same distance that you can when the roads are dry. I'll send it back to you guys.
Yeah, no doubt, especially as it starts to get colder, Arda. All that wet snow is going to start to freeze over. Let's talk more about the commute home, or maybe the people working evenings, go driving to work. Let's bring in OPP Sergeant Carrie Schmidt. So last time we heard from the OPP, it was 150 crashes. That was a couple hours ago. What's that tally like now?
Yeah, we're at about 200 right now as we speak with the crashes. It kind of settled down. The snow is not coming down as heavy as it was earlier this morning, which is a good thing, but it's also a dangerous thing, because you see behind me the traffic speed. The volume is decreasing here in the outlying areas. This is the 401 behind me, and as speeds go up, the potential for more serious injuries also increases. So when people are going bumper to bumper in crawling traffic, nothing too significant will usually happen, maybe some fender benders. But now when we have high speeds going, that's when disaster can strike. And so, with the numbers already at 200, we don't want to see that continue. And the temperature's dropping, and the roads are still wet, and those icy sections could be very slippery. So it's just a very word of caution to anyone out there. Be very vigilant as to your driving, be aware of your surroundings, and what kind of road surface you're driving.
How should drivers prepare before they get into their vehicle?
Well, first of all, don't be in a rush. Have that to plan. Know where you're going. Know what you're doing. Again, clear your vehicle. All the simple stuff. Do your wipers work? Do you have washer fluid? You're going to need that over the next 24, 48 hours. But then once you finally pull off your driveway, some of the side roads, the sidewalks are still snow covered and very slippery. Along those secondary roads have not been plowed as much as the main highways, the main roads through the city, and so you'll find a lot more snow and challenging areas in that type of driving. But then once you get onto the roads, just give yourself that space. Just know what's going on and look down the horizon, so you're always anticipating changing traffic patterns. When you see those brake lights, things are slowing down, so get on the brakes sooner than what you normally would. And again, my pet peeve, like everyone probably has, as the sun goes down, please turn on your full headlamp system. There's too many cars out there driving around with no taillights, and it's hard to see them in the dark, especially when you have that spray and mist coming off from the moisture on the road. So just do your part, be as visible as possible, turn your lights on, and be a good driver. Keep yourself way behind traffic in front of you, so you have time to adjust your driving, slow down, change lanes, or stop, and to avoid a collision. And always be careful of those elevated platforms, or bridges, or overpasses, and of course, long ramps.
All right, OPP Sergeant Kara Schmidt, thanks so much. We appreciate that. Please drive safely today. I know you're going to be out there on the roads. Okay, let's go. Staying on the roads now. CP24 traffic specialist Adrian Yabwa. Have you been seeing a lot of crashes too?
You know what? Not too many. In the morning, there was a lot more than there were in the afternoon because, the snow started to subside and a lot of people just decided not to drive. So we're into rush hour. Things are changing. Not too many issues, but we do have one problem that I've been watching. This is on the westbound 401, Phil. So westbound on the 401, just as you make your way through Kipling, its a stalled transport truck was blocking the right lane, managed to squeeze over to the right side. So that's why you're seeing a little bit of a bottleneck. The rest of the 401, just take a look at it. There's gaps in traffic, which is not the normal thing on a Wednesday for traffic. So it's a busy go, not so busy go out there on the major routes. We are dealing with a problem actually just coming into the traffic desk. This is on the northbound lanes of the Don Valley Parkway, right underneath the Don Mills overpass. It is a stall partially in the right lane, so you want to drive with a bit of extra care and caution. And if you're using the Gardner, it's busier on the eastbound side. So coming into downtown slows anywhere from just before Bathurst to continue slow out to York Bay Yonge. My camera's out, but Toronto Transportation is reporting a stalled vehicle that does have the right lane blocked. Back to you.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
Thanks, Edge. Police are investigating a stabbing near Danforth in Maine. Police taped off the scene at an electronics store. The stabbing happened shortly after 2 o'clock this afternoon. Paramedics say a man has serious injuries but is going to survive. According to police, the suspect was last seen running away eastbound on the Danforth. Witnesses or anyone with information is asked to come forward.
And police are asking for help to find 3 women wanted in a downtown assault. All 3 suspects are believed to be between 18 and 25 with long dark hair and dark eyes. Police say in the early hours of Sunday, November 23rd, the 3 women were in the vehicle on King West, got into an altercation with 2 women who were walking by. The suspects are accused of assaulting the victims and trying to pull them into their vehicle. The driver then accelerated, dragging the 2 women down the street. The victims weren't seriously hurt. Anyone who recognizes these people asked to contact police.
Police have released images of a man arrested for allegedly assaulting 5 female victims over the last month. 24-year-old Iman Dea is charged with 4 counts of assault and 1 count of robbery. Police say Dea was involved in 4 assaults on Monday, including at Bathurst Station and Jane Station. He also allegedly assaulted a female victim near Shepherd and Yonge on the morning of November the 10th. Police are concerned more people could be impacted by this investigation.
And police are investigating after a woman had her hijab removed during an assault in Mississauga. It happened around 3:30 last Wednesday at Mississauga Valley Boulevard near Cooksville Creek Bridge. Police say the woman was approached by a stranger who then yelled at and then assaulted her. Police believe the attack was motivated by hate. They're asking people who live in the area to be vigilant and report suspicious behavior.
The TCC board has unanimously passed a motion to urgently look into speeding up the Finch West LRT after transit riders complained about the slow commute on the new line.
Yeah, CP24's Beatrice Vaisman joining us from City Hall. We're talking about this in the newsroom last couple of days now. They want to get after this urgently. But Beatrice, this project was 2 years behind schedule. Didn't they have, that time to figure it out? Engineering didn't change.
Yeah, you'd think so, Phil, wouldn't you? And I mean, that was part of my question to the TTC chair, Jamal Myers, this afternoon, who stood here and got a grilling from a lot of the reporters here at City Hall. Why do we always do things in hindsight here? I mean, billions of dollars, couple of years behind schedule. They had a lot of time to make sure that when this thing debuted, like it did on Sunday, that it would be wonderful and all the kinks would be ironed out. Keep in mind, this is a soft launch, the hard launch coming in spring. Clearly, something didn't happen here. And what we heard from Myers today was some finger pointing, although he said there's a lot of coulda, woulda, shouldas. He didn't blame anyone specifically, but says now there's the political will to actually change things and make sure that the speed of these trains is ironed out. Keep in mind the LRT, light rail transit, or light rapid transit, it is certainly not rapid. In fact, a lot of the commuters who spoke this morning here at City Hall talked about the fact that it's so discouraging for them that they had, anticipated this transit line for many, many years now. They were hoping for a shorter, faster, better commute, and instead, many of them reported sitting on this LRT train over the course of the last couple of days and watching the Finch West buses drive past them. And so a lot of that anticipation for them just kind of went out the window, and it speaks to the frustration of the commuters. It speaks to the frustration of some councillors. We heard from councillors Matlow and Bravo here this morning. Matlow calling this essentially a colossal failure, saying that something needs to be done. And so now the proposal is to improve signal priority to make sure that these LRT trains can go through intersections, go through pinch points, number one, with priority signals, and number two, making sure that these signals are actually long enough to give these trains the opportunity to go through, and also adding frequency of these trains as well. But in the meantime, certainly commuters very, very frustrated. Here's a bit of what we heard from Councillor Myers, and you'll also hear from a TTC riding advocate, transit advocate, who's expressing just how tough the last few days have been as a commuter who relies on the Finch West train.
A lot of these decisions were made way before any of us came onto the scene. We're just sort of dealing with them now. I would say some decisions maybe we just didn't know. Like this is a new type of technology that we're operating in Toronto, and we just had to sort of see how it goes. So far, the early results are it is working well, it is reliable, but we can make it faster, and that's what we're doing now. And I will say we are getting ahead of Line 5, so we're not waiting for something similar to happen to Line 5. The motion also addresses transit signal priority and other measures that would speed up those trains as well.
The whole time, I was thinking about the enormous cost and years spent building Line 6 and how it's somehow worse than the bus. I ride the 36 Finch West bus regularly, and not only has the Finch West LRT failed to be an improvement, it is a direct downgrade from the bus in its current state. Before Line 6 opened, I used to lament the loss of the original early 2000s David Miller Transit City plan to have the Line 6 run from Humber College all the way to Yonge Street. But now that it's open and in its current state, I'm happy it doesn't extend past Keele because I want to at least keep some of the better option, which currently remains the bus.
And that says a lot, that the bus is a better option than this brand new LRT. As for Metrolinx, I mean, we reached out to them to get a statement to figure out what's happening here with the signals, the signal priorities, and whose job it was to fix them. Metrolinx responding, saying the City of Toronto and the TTC have been the ones to put speed restrictions through intersections and have not used the full extent of the train signal priority. If they were to change that, they will find a wide open door at Metrolinx, or if they wish to change that, they'll find a wide open door at Metrolinx to update the software accordingly. So yet more finger pointing. Metrolinx saying if there was will at the TTC in the city, there's an open door at Metrolinx to get this done and work together, and fingers being pointed in the other direction as well, Phil and Arda, but certainly in the midst of all this, who loses? It's the commuters that lose because they're the ones still stuck on this train that is going a lot slower than it should be.
Yeah, a train that I'm sure no one at Queen's Park or City Hall actually take. So quite interesting that there doesn't seem to be any urgency in this case. All right.
Well, we'll see what happens with this story. Thank you so much for this, Beatrice. It's 5:15 right now and 0 degrees. Feeling like -7, though. This is Lions at 5.
Well, the Liberals are calling on the Ford government to sell off its stockpile of American booze. We'll hear the province's response.
Look what happened.
Welcome back. Let's talk about booze. Other provinces have been selling off their stockpiles of American booze, and now there's a call at Queen's Park for Ontario to do the same.
CP24's Sija Liu joins us live with the story. Sija, tell us more about what the province plans on doing with the stockpile.
Well, Arda and Phil, back in March, the province removed all of its American booze off the shelves in response to U.S. tariffs. Right now, there's about $80 million worth of American liquor sitting on shelves. About $2 million worth of that stock is set to expire within the next 6 months. Instead of pouring all that liquor down the drain, the Ontario Liberals want to pour it into a good cause. They are calling on the Ford government to sell off that American booze and donate the proceeds to food banks. They're saying that other provinces have done that already. For example, Newfoundland and Labrador, Manitoba, Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia already sold off $14 million of that stockpile and have donated $4 million of that. The Conservatives, on the other hand, argue that they would like to stay strong against U.S. tariffs. They also fear that if they do begin selling these American goods, that this would hurt local producers. Local producers have seen an increase in their sales since American goods were taken off the shelves. But here's more from both sides, including Premier Doug Ford and an Ontario MPP.
It sends a clear message that, until Donald Trump gets back and starts signing deals, stops going after our manufacturing, going after our companies, going after our communities and families, we need to hit back at that guy. Simple.
We got $80 million of surplus liquor collecting dust in a basement. We paid for it. There's a lot of hungry people out there. There's more people than ever visiting food banks. So why don't we just sell it off? Why don't we just sell it off and use those profits, give it to food banks on behalf of all Ontarians? I think that's something all Ontarians would like.
We reached out to the finance minister, Peter Bethlenfalvy. Here's what he had to say. He said, in the face of President U.S. Trump's tariffs taking direct aim at our economy, we directed the LCBO to remove U.S.-made alcohol from their shelves. U.S. alcohol will remain off the shelves and is being held in storage until further notice. We are currently exploring options for the products. So he's not completely ruling out this idea, but saying it's not happening for now. Also today, Premier Doug Ford, when asked about this, he said he needs to speak to the LCBO. As for food banks, they of course are welcoming this idea. They say any dollar can go a long way right now, especially millions of dollars that they could potentially make from the sale of these American goods at LCBO shelves. But for now, Phil and Arda, no liquor at LCBOs just yet, but we'll see what happens.
All right, Sija, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Well, the province has a temporary home for the Ontario Science Centre at Harbourfront Centre is now expanding.
The original Science Centre closed in 2024 amid concerns about the building's structural integrity. The province says a smaller temporary exhibit set up at the Harbourfront Centre will grow to cover 86,000 square feet by the summer. Meanwhile, the Ontario Science Centre exhibit at Sherway Gardens will close on January the 4th. A permanent Science Centre at Ontario Place is expected to open in 2029.
I mean, if this is, 5 million visitors to Harbourfront Centre is a lot of visitors. This is, they had a record-breaking year last year, and I toured the site last week with the CEO, Kathy Loblaw. I'm super excited for my daughter to play at this Science Centre. I think it's going to be a huge success. Kids Park is already hugely successful there. It's been running since December of last year, and if for whatever reasons there are delays, we don't anticipate there to be, of course, then we will consider keeping that interim site open until then.
Ontario NDP leader Marit Stiles is questioning the government's timeline for the expanded interim Science Centre site.
Originally, they were going to reopen some sort of interim science center in January. We asked them to confirm if they were opening it in January. They didn't have an answer. They didn't have any money in the last fall economic statement for the science center. So now they're saying they're going to open something in the summer next year. I don't know if I believe this. Sounds a little bit like a fly-by-night plan, because I'll tell you, just a few weeks ago, there was no plan.
Well, the Auditor General report from last year found that the cost estimate for the new Science Center's construction has increased by nearly $400 million from the province's 2023 business case for relocating it. It's 527. Feels like -7. You're watching live at 5.
521.
521. Skipping ahead. Need a break.
And it's in its final decision of the year. Bank of Canada has announced that it will hold its key interest rate steady. We'll have more on what that means for borrowers coming up next. Stay with us. Welcome back. The Bank of Canada is holding its key interest rate steady.
Yeah, the last decision of this year, the central bank announced the rate earlier today, which now influences variable rate mortgages and lines of credit. It'll stay at 2.25%. Now, back in October, the central bank made a quarter-point cut. That's its 7th straight reduction. Economists largely expect that the bank would stand pat due to the improving economic indicators, including lower unemployment and a stronger than expected third quarter GDP. Inflation also eased slightly in October to 2.2%.
Steep U.S. tariffs on steel, aluminum, automobiles, and lumber have hit those sectors hard. And uncertainty about U.S. trade policy is weighing on business investment more broadly. But so far, the economy is proving resilient overall. Second, inflationary pressures continue to be contained despite added costs related to the reconfiguration of trade. Total CPI inflation has been close to the 2% target for more than a year now.
Bank Canada has lowered interest rates by 1 percentage point this year over a series of moves.
It's the last call for Canadians to get a piece of the $500 million settlement in a bread price-fixing class action lawsuit. Loblaw and its parent company, George Weston Limited, are accused of engaging in an industry-wide scheme to fix the price of bread. Canadians have until this Friday to submit an online claim if they bought packaged bread between January of 2001 and December of 2021. Those who file a claim would receive $25 within 6 to 12 months after the deadline. No proof of purchase is needed.
It's 526 now. Feels like -7. You're watching live at 5.
Best-selling author Sophie Cassella has died at the age of 55. We'll have more on how the creator of the Shopaholic series is being remembered coming up next.
Welcome back. Best-selling author Sophie Cassella has died.
Yeah, I loved her book. Such easy, fun reading. Cassella is best known for her Shopaholic series of novels, which have sold more than 50 million copies worldwide. The writer, whose real name was Madeline Sophie Wickham, was diagnosed with an aggressive form of brain cancer in 2022. A statement posted by her family today says they are heartbroken to announce her passing. Sophie Cassella was 55 years old.
529 feels like -7. You're watching live at 5.
The TTC is taking steps to address the speed of the new Finch West LRT. We'll take a look at what the board has voted to do. That's coming up next. Stay with us.
Live look at the roads right now, moving pretty well. GTA remains under a snowfall warning tonight. We'll get a live update on the commute home in moments.
The TTC votes to take action to speed up the Finch West LRT. We'll tell you how long it will take commuters before they can expect to see an improvement on the new Line 6.
And what should Ontario do with all that American booze? The Liberals are calling on the Ford government to sell it off and give the money to charity.
This is Live at 5.
Good evening. I'm Phil Perkins.
And I'm Arda Zakarian. Welcome to Live at 5. The TTC board has unanimously passed a motion to urgently look into speeding up the Finch West LRT after transit riders complained about the slow commute on the new line.
Yeah.
CP24's Beatrice Vaisman joins us live from City Hall with more on this. And we heard from people who were riding it saying that they saw the buses pass them faster. That must have had a little bit of a heartbreak there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very, very discouraging, Arda, Phil, for a lot of these commuters who were anticipating the opening of the Finch West LRT. The TTC CEO, Mandeep Laleh, just walking behind me. Mandeep, are you prepared to talk to us? We're just live here on CP24. I don't know if you need a moment to take your jacket off. That's okay as well. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So what happened up there? I mean, with regards to the Finch West LRT, what were some of the discussions about what you're going to do to make sure that commuters can actually start moving faster?
Well, sorry, remind me what you're referring to.
The board meeting.
I was just walking past. I didn't get everything you said.
Sorry, the board meeting that you just came from.
Yes.
In terms of the Finch West LRT, what's your assurances to commuters that they're going to be able to, get moving faster?
So first of all, let's celebrate something's opened, which took a long time to get there. I think that's a really good sign. Second of all, we're into day 4. I'm not sure how many people have opened lines before, but there's a bedding in period which we're currently doing within the soft opening perspective, which again, we've made very clear via the Ottawa recommendations, this is a key aspect of. So we're following that through jointly with Metrolinx and seeing how the system performs. So there will be improvements in respect to dwell times, there will be improvements through the intersections, and there will be improvements through the transit signal priority in order to gain the speed that we require. So those will come in duration.
You talk about just being on day 4, but with all due respect, and I appreciate you're the new head of the TTC as well. You weren't here the last couple of years as we were leading up to this. But why didn't, I guess, they capitalize in the last 2 years to make sure that on day 1, at least, commuters wouldn't be watching the buses go past them?
So when you do the RSD testing, which is a key, again, requirement of the Ottawa report, you're running without passengers. Passengers add a dynamic, a force, like when you drive a car. When you drive an empty car, the dynamics are slightly different. When you fill the car up with passengers or your trunk is full, it behaves slightly different. Now, these are modeled and worked through, but now we're operationalising it in the true sense, in a safe, reliable manner. And we're picking up areas that we need to improve upon.
Mandeep, this morning, Councillor Josh Matlow said that it's a flip of a switch and that Metrolinx has the authority to do that, and the TTC needs Metrolinx approval. Now, we reached out to Metrolinx, and Metrolinx said that's not true. They said the City of Toronto and the TTC are the ones to put speed restrictions through intersections and have not used the full extent of the train signal priority. If they wish to change that, they will find a wide open door at Metrolinx to update the software accordingly. What's your response to that?
So first of all, I welcome that because that shows our partnership. The door's wide open to work together, as we have done on this particular piece of work. So the transit signal priority perspective is not just a switch. It's a PLC logic algorithm, effectively, which gives you the ability to move forward safely. Now, at the moment, there's a limited transit signal priority implemented, but we're going to be trialing in January, end of January, a more aggressive transit signal priority algorithm, and that will help prioritize LRT through the intersections and gain the speeds, coupled with the operators coming up the speed, coupled with the dwell times being further refined. This will all add to that. But again, we can't do it ourselves. It's a partnership between ourselves, the city, and Metrolinx doing this collectively.
So if you guys do that and you go through this algorithm and you test that, any idea in terms of how much time that's going to shave off a commute for riders?
Well, we have to put them all. You can do it individually and do it compound. So we work that through. But again, we've got to trial that, and then we'll have a better understanding once we operationalize that.
Just as far as it comes to speeding it up? It sounds like you can only speed it up so much because that 33-minute end-to-end thing that was promised in the contract sounds like that's no longer the case, that the city actually found out about it last year. So is it just you're going to have to deal with what's there and there's only so much you can actually, or only so much speed you can actually make up on the line?
There's obviously policy and procedures in place for safety purposes, and we don't want to encroach on those, and we won't encroach on those. However, the items I've just said will give us some value add. What that value add is will bring us down to achieve a good level of performance. So we're confident with that.
We've been reporting on a meeting that apparently took place on December 5th. Can you tell us anything about what happened there with Metrolinx seemingly wanting to push ahead with the opening of the crosstown, and it sounds like you pushing back?
This was the line ride?
December 5th.
Eglinton Crosstown.
Eglinton Crosstown.
Eglinton, we were all together at that. So again, we have meetings all the time. So I'm not sure we just happened to be at an opening. And again, we took the opportunity to have a quick chat.
Was February 8th floated at all as the opening date?
So again, I'll just go back to what I said earlier, just to make sure everyone's clear. Substantial completion was achieved, which is a great milestone for that work. As part of substantial completion, we're working through system operational matters, so we can get the performance that we would like, and we want to operationalize that. Once we get dates for those activities, then we can sit down and say, right, this is what the date could potentially be. But it would be premature to say that without having dates of the action items which Metrolinx are going through with their partners.
But have you been finding that Metrolinx in the province are maybe a little too hot on wanting to open the LRT or the crosstown too fast?
I think everyone's keen to have this open, but my experience with dealing with Metrolinx, dealing with the city or the province, has been pleasant from an engineering perspective and for safety, reliability, taking those items forward.
The mayor's office has gone on the record and said there are, quote, operational and technical issues that are still outstanding because they want to avoid the Ottawa LRT incident. What exactly are those issues? Are the tracks still misaligned?
So, in answer to your question, no, because if that was the case, they wouldn't have reached substantial completion. They wouldn't have it signed off by their independent safety expert. They wouldn't have it signed off by the internal safety team. So no, it is safe. And the things we're talking about is how do we make it operationally more dynamic? So the example I'll give is door operations, for example. That impacts upon customer experience. So if you have salt or something within the door tracks, the door's clearly not going to close. And then if it's not going to close, you can have excessive dwell time. If it's not going to close because there's something that we don't discover right now, you could potentially look at what else, excessive time there. So we'd like to address those things right now while we've got the opportunity to do so within the substantial completion and the bedding in period. So it's items of that nature, but that's one item. But if you layer them onto each other, it starts to be X, Y, Z, but we're just working through that.
Mandeep, was there...
That is the CEO of the TTC, Mandeep Lally, speaking with Beatrice Vaisman, along with the other reporters. There's Rahim Ladani there with CTV, asking him what's the plan to speed up the Finch West LRT on Line 6, a new Line 6, not even a week old and traveling around 13 kilometers an hour. Doesn't seem like there's going to be a process, but don't really have a time frame when it's going to speed up. Let's bring in Maddie Siamatiki, Professor of Geography and Planning and Director of the Infrastructure Institute at the University of Toronto. You were listening into that scrum speaking to Mandeep Lally, the CEO of TTC. What did you take from that? All I heard was algorithm. It's all about an algorithm they're using to determine the speed?
Yeah, thanks for having me tonight. I have to say that talk will provide cold comfort to Torontonians who have been waiting years for this system to come online. And honestly, I'm speechless. I'm speechless at what was just said there. The sense of urgency, the level of detail to tell us how this is going to be fixed. The idea that the system promised that it was going to be 33 minutes end to end, and now there's no commitment that that's what's going to be achieved. This really, I don't use this word lightly, this is a disaster for Toronto. This really needs a closer look. This needs the politicians and everyone involved looking at this project, pushing those who have been involved and are currently there to say, how do we get this to what was promised to Torontonians? 33 minutes, reliable service, end to end. That's what was promised, and that's what should be delivered.
In the beginning of the interview with the CEO of the TTC, Mandeep Lally, he said, has anyone opened a line before? So he made it seem like possibly that this is expected to have these kinds of kinks.
Again, I find this hard to believe. I mean, we have opened lines before. We opened the UP Express. We opened the subway up to York Region. Earlier, we opened the Shepherd subway. We've done streetcars along St. Clair. This is not the first transit line that's ever been opened. The Ottawa LRT experience casts a long shadow because it was a bad experience. And there was the Ottawa LRT Commission. I actually advised the LRT Commission, and they did say that we need to be much more prudent when we're doing the testing. But what they did not say is to be such an overabundance of caution that the system doesn't work as a transit line. That defeats the entire purpose, and that's kind of what we have here. The old bus system was working better than what's there now. That is not acceptable after spending this amount of money and this much pain during the construction.
And it had everything in its corner. It was opening up before the Eglinton Crosstown, all the good faith. And then within 30 minutes, we had a delay, and now we're seeing, as you mentioned, buses traveling faster. And it was also 2 years behind schedule. My whole thing with all this is the engineering didn't change. They knew how fast it could go. They knew about the signaling or lack thereof. Why are they doing this now? As Beatrice Vaisman said, they're kind of being armchair quarterbacking now. Why didn't they figure this out within the last 2 years?
That's completely inexplicable. They've had years to sort out the transit signal priority, to sort out the engineering. And if it wasn't going to deliver on what was promised, we should have been told that years ago. Why are we just learning that now after the ribbon cutting? People were so excited. If you saw the pictures from Sunday, people were over the moon that this line is being opened. Torontonians care so much about public transit, and this is our future. And to spend this amount of money and then to have this outcome, and to have politicians and those leading these projects being so dismissive of our concerns, I think that's really something that we should be on top of, and that has to be questioned.
And we haven't even talked about the Eglinton Crosstown. It's double the length, Maddie, and it's not even open yet, and we have no idea what's going to happen there. I wish we could talk all hour, really. Maddie Siamaticki, Professor of Geography and Planning and Director of the Infrastructure Institute at the University of Toronto. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Hopefully chat soon.
And it has been a messy day on the roads, and a snowfall warning has just ended.
That's kind of good news, especially for CP24 Steve Ryan, who's been outside in the elements, which seems like forever. Steve.
Yeah, forever. That's what it feels like for sure, Phil and Arda. So the OPP themselves have said that they have investigated 200 car crashes since this morning. And of course, the first snowfall of the year, major snowfall of the year. And what they tell us is that the speed is often a contributing factor to these car crashes because people's stopping distances decrease tremendously. And sometimes police say, I need to be reminded of how to drive in the changing of the conditions. Otherwise, what happens is we get these property damage accidents, as we were talking with the OPP about earlier today. So we did speak with Sergeant Schmidt from the OPP, and he spoke about the 200 crashes that they've investigated and what it's like in these stormy conditions. Here's what he said.
So when people are, going bumper to bumper in crawling traffic, nothing too significant will usually happen. Maybe some fender benders, but now when we have high speeds going, that's when disaster can strike. And so, with the numbers already at 200, we don't want to see it continue. And the temperature's dropping, and the roads are still wet, and those icy sections could be very slippery.
Yeah, the speed you travel in these type of conditions is so important to reducing the chances of being involved in a property damage accident. So as always, the police tell us to drive according to conditions. And as you can see, the conditions right now are not that great. So the recommendation from police is to slow down.
Thank you, guys.
So much for this, Steve. And now with the snow slowing down and even stopping, let's check on the commute now with CP24's traffic specialist, Adjoa Nsiewa. Adjoa, I know the snow stoppage is not going to really help the congestion.
We
but
wish.
It's still a good sign.
You know, it's a good sign. At least the precipitation has stopped. But what you're left with is a busy drive and a couple of problems. So if you're making your way out, we have these issues on the northbound lanes of the Don Valley Parkway, Arda. This is right through Don Mills. It is the right lane that is blocked with this stall. So that is creating a delay. It does extend now from before Bayview Bloor. Then headed towards the 401. Problems I thought had cleared are still with us. Westbound at 401. This is just as you make your way through Kipling or on the approach to Dixon Martin Grove. Stalled transport in the right lane. This one not really slowing down your drive. You will find problems happening into Brampton. That actually cleared. We had issues southbound on the 410 just as you made your way through Steeles. Left lane was blocked to the stall. The situation did clear the scene. Outside of camera view, we do have a problem on the eastbound 4th and the ramp to Highway 6 South in Hamilton. It is a stalled vehicle in the right lane, and on city streets, a collision on Dundas and Bloor. I'll send it back to you both.
All right, Adjoa, thanks so much. Appreciate that. It's 5:47. Feels like -7. You're watching Live at 5.
The Liberals are calling on the Ford government to sell off its stockpile of U.S. booze. We'll hear from the province coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back. Other provinces have been selling off their stockpiles of U.S. booze, and now there's a call at Queen's Park for Ontario to do the same.
Yeah, CP24's CJ Liu joins us live with the story. Could we see Kentucky bourbon on the shelves?
We haven't seen any Kentucky bourbon or California wines or any American alcohol on LCBO shelves since March. That was when the Ford government removed all American alcohol in response to U.S. tariffs. So that alcohol has been sitting in storage, roughly $80 million worth of U.S. alcohol. And now around $2 million worth of that stock is set to expire in the next 6 months or so. Instead of having that product collect dust or pouring it down the drain, the Ontario Liberals say they can turn this into a good cause. They are calling the Ford government to begin selling that American alcohol again, but donating the proceeds to Ontario food banks. Now, this is not a new idea. Other provinces have already begun doing this, such as Manitoba, Nova Scotia, PEI. They are all beginning to sell that American good and donating it to charities. And here's more from the Ontario Liberals who are calling from this, as well as the local food bank here.
It was just something that all of us could do. And so, look, other people have done it. The NDP Premier of Manitoba has done it. Look, it's not doing anybody good collecting dust in the basement. And we're not going to buy anymore. But something's got to be done with it. So let's just put it to some good.
That $80 million would go far, but it would go far just in a temporary situation. Really, I would love to see that $80 million develop $80 million worth of affordable housing or $80 million worth of supports to those on OW or ODSP. So we would appreciate it. We need it, but at the same time, we're going to remain faithful to the long-term systemic causes of food bank usage and advocate for those changes.
As for what the province is saying, Finance Minister Peter Bethlenfalvy says the American goods will remain in storage for now, but Arda, Phil, they are going to explore other options when it comes to these products.
Thank you so much for this, Sija. It's now 5:52 and 0 degrees, feeling like -7. This is Live at 5.
Well, Air Transat restoring operations after a pilot strike was averted. We'll hear from the CEO next. Welcome back. Air Transat says its priority is now restoring operations after reaching a tentative deal with pilots to avert a strike.
The agreement affects about 750 pilots who will vote on the deal in the coming days. Flight cancellations earlier in the week disrupted routes to sun destinations and Europe, affecting thousands of passengers. Air Transat says it is aware the situation caused significant uncertainty for customers, but also says the deal reached is a win for the airline, its pilots, and its passengers.
We offered generous conditions, but in return, we required increase in performance and efficiency. So this is something that we were looking for. So we had common objectives on that, and we found the right balance that will allow us to remain competitive, have competitive salaries, while preserving the DNA of offering affordable products to our customers. So that was really important. So I'm not able to share all the details of the deals at this point, but it's a win-win agreement. We're very satisfied with it.
Labor dispute happened as Transat works to turn a profit and manage debt.
It's the last call for Canadians to get a piece of the $500 million settlement in a bread price fixing class action lawsuit. Loblaw and its parent company, George Weston Limited, are accused of engaging in an industry-wide scheme to fix the price of bread. Canadians have until this Friday to submit an online claim if they bought packaged bread between January of 2001 and December of 2021. Those who file a claim could receive $25 within 6 to 12 months after the deadline. No proof of purchase is needed.
And get this, Australia social media ban for kids under the age of 16 is now in effect.
And now the Sydney Harbour Bridge lit up in green and gold today to mark the start of the ban, which is the first of its kind in the world. There was also a large sign that read, "Let them be kids." 10 major social media platforms, including TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, must now block users under the age of 16 or face massive fines. Some 200,000 accounts have already been deactivated on TikTok alone.
I'm about that. Well, some travelers who plan to visit the U.S. may soon need to provide authorities with their social media posts first.
The Trump administration is proposing requiring visitors who use the electronic system for travel authorization to reveal their social media history for the past 5 years. The ESTA is an online application for a visa waiver. Providing social media data is currently optional, but the proposal would make it mandatory. The public can comment on the issue until February the 9th.
Now, Lionel Messi has made history yet again.
Realized, the goal achieved. Inter Miami champions of Major League Soccer.
Is he bored of being awesome? I don't know. The Inter Miami star is the first player to ever win back-to-back MVP trophies in MLS. The 38-year-old from Argentina scored 29 goals and had 19 assists during the regular season and led Miami to its first MLS Cup title. Messi is the only other player to be named, Preki, is the only other player to be named MVP twice. That was back in 1997 and 2003.
Do you like Italian food?
I'm like 2% Italian, so yes.
Oh, okay,
2%.
good. It's in the blood.
It is,
So
somewhere in there.
Italian food is being recognized by the United Nations Cultural Agency.
Yeah, it's also my stomach. Whether it's pasta, pizza, or tiramisu, Italian cuisine has been acknowledged by UNESCO as part of the world's intangible cultural heritage. The recognition didn't mention specific dishes, but highlighted the cultural importance Italians place on the rituals of cooking and eating.
It's 5:59 right now, 0 degrees. This is Toronto's breaking news, CP24.
It was a messy day on the road. Snowfall warning has ended, though. Thanks for watching. CTV News at 6 is next.